our discussion be looking like this morning, and one of the things that we shall be asking ourselves is the meaning of governance. And governance is the process of making and implementing decisions for the benefit of the society. And another thing we'll be looking at is the political leadership. We shall also be looking at the people's priorities. We shall also be looking at why governance is under the spotlight, and also the rising public expectations due to greater access to information. Something else we'll be looking at this morning, as far as the discussion is concerned, will be the signs that leadership is focused on people's priorities. And we shall also be looking at signs that leadership has shifted away from people's priorities. We shall also be looking at the cases of corruption and abuse of power. We shall also be looking at the factors affecting political leadership and corruption. We shall also be looking at the role of citizens and that can help keep leaders accountable. And we shall be looking at some of the steps that may make a leader a bit accountable. We shall also be looking at the possible solutions. Then we shall also be making a conclusion of the same. Remember, 25th, and this is Thursday last week, we had the second anniversary as far as the Gen Z's protests is concerned, or the uprising is concerned. And one of the demands that they raised, or even that they need them to be addressed, they looked at justice and accountability, where things or even these cases should be investigated, arrest and prosecute all police officers and those with command responsibility for the killings and torture and forced disappearances and other human rights violations. And another demand is the public apology, where the government must issue a formal public apology for the killings and all other violations committed by state agents during the Gen Z protests. Also, the issue of national remembrance, where declare June 25th a national holiday and unveil a national monument to honor the Gen Z heroes. Something else, access, participation and adequacy of compensation, where in addition to other reparative measures, victims and survivors must be meaningfully consulted on all elements of reparation, including restitution, restoration of dignity and livelihood. Something else they demanded is adequate, timely, realistic and transparent compensation, where money cannot bring back lives, but it can help restore dignity and support livelihoods. Provide meaningful compensation to survivors and families of those killed or missing. Now, something else, and I think this is the last demand from the Gen Z, is make a clear commitment. It's all about the guarantees of non-repetition, where make a clear commitment that never again will the police kill innocent Kenyans. Put in place concrete measures to end the killing of innocent citizens. That's something else we shall also be looking at this morning. And also we shall also be looking at remembering the heroes, and one of the hero is Rex Masai. We shall also be looking at Erickson Mutisia, Anthony Kimeu, Kelvin Mawasi, Ibrahim Kamau, Kennedy Wakini, Kelvin Madanga, and Shaquille Obiens, David Chege, and many, many more. That's what we shall be making for you as we get to the discussion later after these two segments. Now, this is a discussion you can follow on our social media platforms. That is EBN TV Kenya Cross. SMS line is 2305. Now, let's kindly know where you're watching from, and you can also get some news stories from wherever you are. Now, this morning on our first stories is that families of 3 young men allegedly taken by security officers in Mathare and Kiamaiko have issued a 24-hour ultimatum to the government demanding the immediate release, warning of planned demonstration on Tuesday if their demands are not met. The families say their sons were allegedly picked up by individuals believed to be security officers during recent activities linked to the Gen Z commemoration protest. They are now calling for urgent intervention and clarity on the whereabouts of the missing youth. In particular, the family of activist Davis Lichuma said he left home to to participate in the Gen Z's remembrance demonstrations before he was allegedly taken from the city center by unidentified individuals suspected to be security agents. 2 other families have also raised concerns of the disappearance of their sons, demanding swift actions from authorities to trace and secure their safe return.
Utaenda watu watakushika. Akaniambia pana, hata wakinishika hakuna maneno, na lakini pole mimi ninafuata haki yangu. Sasa kama walikuwa wanakanyaka bile, walikanyaka huyo hao watu, yeye bado iko hai. Hiyo kitu ndio ilinilete nikawa na huzuni sana, hata sikulala. Na ninafikiria yeye tu kwa sababu sina uwezo.
Kulikuwa na gari ambao haikuwa na number plate, na Maxi akitembea aliweza kunyakuliwa, akashikwa mkono huu na huu mwingine na miguu, akaingishwa kwenye gari na gari ikaenda mbio. Sasa gari kuenda haijulikani ilienda aje. The following day tukachukua hatua ya kwenda police.
So tunaambia serikali, we want these individuals released immediately. Hatutaki story ingine. If we don't see them, then sisi mutatuona kwa barabara. That is our position.
On a different story, Orange Democratic Movement leaders have dismissed claims of internal divisions within the party, insisting that emerging political differences in some regions are a normal part of democratic engagement and do not threaten party unity. Speaking during an ODM youth conference held in Busia, the leaders acknowledged the existence of what they described as elements of political intolerance and internal power struggles in certain areas. However, they maintained that the party leadership is actively addressing the concerns to strengthen cohesion. The officials emphasized that ODM remains a strong and united political movement, saying its structures are intact and focused on its long-term political agenda. They further pledged to consolidate and defend the party's traditional strongholds as it prepares for the 2027 general election, expressing confidence in its grassroots support and organizational strength.
Tunapanga chama ndiposa tuhakikishe kwamba chama kimesimama. Kutakuwa na mabadiliko kidogo ambayo tutafanya, mambo ya ngazi. Kwa hivyo tutakapoyaleta mkubali, kwa sababu nataka tuhakikishe kwamba chama kimesimama imara. Wewe kama ni mtu wa one term, tafadhali unakaa kwa mkutano yako.
MCA ni OD, MP ni OD, Governor ni OD, Women Rep ni OD, Senator ni OD, President tutazungumza, tukubaliane, ndio ikuwe hiyo ndani ya broad base. Sawa si sawa?
Kama tunataka tuishi vizuri hapa Kenya, kama mnataka tutambuliwe vizuri hapa Kenya, hata kama tunaunga President William Ruto mkono, lazima tuunge yeye kupitia chama chetu cha ODM.
In politics, leaders of the United Alternative Government have raised concerns over what they describe as increasing threats to media freedom, political tolerance and civil liberties, while calling for national unity and prayers for the country's future. The leaders, led by Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, former Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi, and DAP Kenya leader Eugene Wamalwa, and several legislators made the remarks during a church service at AIC Namanga border in Kajiado County. Addressing the congregation, Kalonzo expressed concern over what he termed as growing intimidation of the media, citing recent actions involving the Standard as an example of what he described as attempts to undermine press freedom. He emphasized that the Constitution guarantees freedom of the media and urged authorities to respect the independence of the press.
Uhuru wa magazeti vile vile ni guaranteed under the Constitution. Na hakuna sasa, it is not possible in Kenya to threaten the media. Haiwezekani. I mean, it is an exercise in, I would even add an adjective, it's an exercise in absolute futility. In fact, very absurd. Kwa hivyo, waandishi wetu wa magazeti wajue haki zenu za kikatiba zitazingatiwa vilivyo na serikali ambayo inakuja. And we live in this country. Tumetembea kila mahali, tumeona.
Now you are interfering with the freedom of the media kwa sababu ya kuandika tu. Si usome kama yale ambayo yameandikwa pale hukubaliani nayo. Si utatoa yako. Na yataandikwa na wale media. It's for that reason that we feel maybe the country is taking a very dangerous trajectory. Na inahitaji maombi. And that's why I'm happy today to be here with you. When my brother, His Excellency Dr. Kalonzo Musyoka, called me last evening, akaniambia tuje tumlaki, tuombe na tutafute pahali tuabudu pamoja, nilishukuru, nikafurahi. Na ndio vile mmesikia Senator Wambua akisema, this country needs a father figure. Somebody who is able to empathize with the plight of Kenyans. Tumeona juzi tarehe 28 mwezi wa 5 wakati ile shule pale Gilgil utumishi inachomeka. Siku hiyo ilikuwa siku inaitwa National Prayer Day, prayer breakfast. Maombi yalifanyika pale, ili hali watu wanajua watoto 16 wameaga na hakuna hata kiongozi mmoja. Jameni, kwani tumefika wapi? That cannot prick our consciences. Ndio sababu tunasema we need more and more prayers. Reverend Kubai.
Broadcast operations and NTV Uganda and other media outlets under the Nation Media Group were disrupted after a military operation allegedly ordered by Uganda's Chief of Defense Forces General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. General, who is also the son of President Yoweri Museveni, is reported to have directed the action following publications by the media houses that were critical of the government and security agencies. The operation affected activities at the Nation Media Group Uganda headquarters in Namuwongo, Kampala, as well as sister outlets Spark TV and the Daily Monitor newspaper, leading to a temporary suspension of broadcast and editorial operations. The incident has drawn sharp criticism from opposition leaders and human rights organizations who argue that the move represents an attempt to suppress press freedom and intimidate independent media in the country. And on a follow-up story, families of activist Davis Lichuma, Wakmilan Kiarie and Abdulaziz Molu have issued a 24-hour ultimatum demanding the immediate release of their relatives, warning of nationwide protests should their demand not be met. The families expressed concern over the continued detention of the activists, insisting that they should be released without delay. They further cautioned that failure to comply within the set time frame would trigger the organization of national demonstrations. Speaking alongside the families, former Chief Justice David Maraga criticized the Kenya Kwanza administration, accusing it of disregarding constitutional provisions and undermining the rule of law. Maraga also faulted police officers, alleging that some were executing their duties outside the limits of the law. He called for strict adherence to constitutional principles and respect for human rights in the handling of detainees and civic matters.
Conceal their identity, and you don't know whether who these people are. The issue at hand here is mainly that the fact that we have a government which does not listen to its people. It all started in 2024. The young people were protesting and saying, look, this bill is making life impossible for their families. What you are told is that the country is doing very well. The economy is rising. That may be so, but it's rising for a very small fraction of people. A very small fraction of people. We saw the report by Oxfam that there are 125 billionaires in this country who own an equivalent of what more than 43 million Kenyans own combined. So they may say that the economy is doing well, but the ordinary mwananchi is suffering. So when the young people came to the streets to protest, as is allowed in our constitution, they were abducted, they were killed. You know, since 2024, more than 120 have been killed. More than 75 have been abducted and they cannot be traced. That is not to include the ones who have been abducted in the last 1 week. The issue we have here is one. We have a government which does not respect the constitution at all. We have a government which does not respect the law. If they were respecting the law and it is police action, I mean, we want police to do their work. If they are criminals, arrest them and take them to court and prosecute them. In fact, the police don't have to conceal their faces if they are doing their work rightly. But when you have police officers who have concealed their faces, you now wonder whether what type of people these are. The other thing we have noticed is that the police themselves are not acting in harmony. When something is happening, orders come from another level and they are disorganized. You remember when we had a procession on Nairobi National Park? We are with Langata police officers, in fact, controlling the.
And a section of political leaders from Western Kenya has called on residents of the region to support President William Ruto ahead of next year's general election, saying the continued backing will help sustain ongoing development projects. Speaking in Navakholo constituency, the leaders said the region has benefited from key government development initiatives under President Ruto's administration, including investments in infrastructure, education, and other public services. They argued that the progress made so far demonstrates the government's commitment to transforming the region and urged residents to remain united in support of the president's development agenda. The leaders further appealed to voters to maintain political stability and work closely with the national government, saying continued cooperation would accelerate economic growth and improve service delivery across Western Kenya.
For the first time, we have a president who has a vision ambayo inataka kutupeleka sisi mbele. And one of the first things that he did for us was fixing the sugar sector, which had challenges Mumias and Zoya. Wamefanya hiyo, sasa hivi imeanza kupata nafuu. And so our youth, we just want to let you know that this government means well for you through the programs ile mumeambiwa.
So sisi to focus kwa kiongozi mwenye amelete difference in the lifestyle of people of Navakholo, and that is William Samoei Ruto. Mimi naomba kwa unyenyekevu na tunajua penye tunaelekea.
Political leaders have intensified calls for the government to withdraw the proposed 0.8% tea levy, warning that the new charge could undermine one of Kenya's most important economic sectors and place an additional burden on struggling tea farmers. Speaking during a fundraiser at St. Boniface Mugui Secondary School in Runyenje's constituency, Senate Majority Leader Aaron Cheruiyot said the tea industry has remained a pillar of Kenya's economy for decades and should not be subjected to further taxation. He argued that the funds expected to be raised through the proposed levy under the Tea Levy Regulations 2026 should instead be sourced from alternative sectors rather than directly from tea growers. Cheruiyot noted that while the levy is intended to finance industry programs, enhance Kenya's competitiveness in the global tea market, and cushion smallholder farmers against price fluctuations, imposing the burden on producers could weaken the sector instead of strengthening it.
Wakulima wa chai wameshikilia Kenya kwa miaka mingi sana. When all the other sectors were nearly collapsing, wakati kahawa ilikuwa imeanguka, maziwa ilikuwa chini, sukari ilikuwa iendi, the only sector that was surviving and thriving was the tea subsector. And for many years, it has been among the leading foreign income earners ambayo inaletea mapato mazuri taifa letu la Kenya. Ni vile kwa sasa tuko na challenges mingi ambayo pia chai, unajua huko kwetu mahali mimi natoka, chai imefika mahali wakulima sasa wanasema ingekuwa inaongea, hata hiyo mti ingeongea pia. Na ingetuuliza maswali, ingetuambia wewe Macharia, ni nini sijakufanyia? Nimekusomeshea watoto, nimekulisha, nimekufanyia kila kitu. Hata wewe angalia vile unaweza ukanichunga sasa. Na hapo ndio sekta yetu ya majani chai iko. Kwamba we have made our contribution kuhakikisha kwamba taifa yote mzima iko sawa. Sasa ni wakati hata sisi kama wakulima wa majani chai, hata pia sisi tuchungwe kama vile tulikuwa tunachunga wengine. Mimi nimefurahia because of the presidential intervention. Maneno sasa ukiangalia wale wa kilimo ya miwa, mambo yao si mbaya. Wale wa kahawa siku hizi wako na pesa kushinda sisi watu wa chai. Sasa tunataka tuwaambie the same way during the difficult days of the other subsectors of agriculture, money used to be taken from the tea subsector to support coffee, sugar, dairy, livestock, all these other sectors. It is now time that money is taken from other sectors to support the tea sector also.
Tunakuomba ukirudi waambie rais umesikiza hao wakulima. Hatujafurahi. Mtoe hiyo kitu, tutapanga mahali kwingine.
Sisi kama wakulima wa majani chai tungekuomba ya kwamba ukienda huko mbele na ukiona rais wetu, waambie wakulima wa majani chai ambao wanateseka kila siku wakienda kuchuna majani, wangependa waangaliwe na jicho ambalo ni nzuri sana kwa sababu ya hiyo tax ya 0.8. Hatuwezi tukaambiwa ya kwamba majani yetu ni mzuri na ni nambari moja especially ya Korokorire, kisha wale ambao wanatunulia majani chai wanaacha yetu nzuri wanaenda kuchukua ya Rwanda.
Thank you for watching the first segment of the morning live show on EBN TV. We're taking a very short break. We're coming back with the second segment, and this is the newspaper review. Please stick around.
Watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
Sports isn't just a game. It's passion.
He's done it. Jakub Mensik is the champion in Miami.
Drama.
Man, oh, come on now.
And the thrill of the unexpected. From the stadiums to the streets, we bring the game to you.
We bring you exclusive insights from the pros, bold predictions, and in-depth analysis like never seen before.
Get ready for the action, the controversy,
and this is bubbled over. Montez shown red,
and the moments that define greatness. the scoreboard, where every game is the biggest game.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
Good morning once again, and if you're joining us now, this is Morning Live on EBN TV, and this is our second segment on EBN TV's Morning Live show. And this is the newspaper review. We're starting with, we've got the Daily Nation, and we've got the Kenya's board newspaper, the Standard, and we're starting with the Standard, where we've been talking about drinking spree, and now on the Standard is a different story of a spending spree, where we are looking at the issue of benchmarking billions, and a new report from the Controller of Budget shows that county governments are wasting huge amounts of money on unnecessary allowances and cost of local travel, conferences and international meetings. The report was that many counties are also overspending on salaries. Their wage bills or take up to 44% of their total revenue, which is above the legal limit of 35% set within the law. Governors are using too much public money on travel and staff costs, leaving little for roads, health, water, and other services that Kenyans need. And this is a story we can pick from page 4. But before we get to that extension of that story, we can look on the top page. We're looking at Machakos County. We're looking at 249.15 million, the amount that Machakos County spend on domestic travel, and this is a very, very big joke. Then in Nairobi, we are looking at 1.18 billion. Now this is the biggest and this is the worst of all, and this is the amount that Nairobi County spend on domestic travel. And we shall also be looking also at 373.61 million, and that is the amount that was spent on foreign trips. Then we're looking at 302.9 million. It is the amount that Baringo County spent on domestic travel. Then we're looking at 20.64 million amount that was spent on foreign trips, and this is also from Baringo County. Then in Kirinyaga County, we're looking at 235.37 million, and this is the amount Kirinyaga County spent on domestic travel with no allocation, or travels with no allocation for foreign travel. Now, all the way to Homa Bay County, we're looking at 219.82 million, and this is the amount that Homa Bay County spent on domestic travel with no allocation for foreign travel. And I think these are the people you have elected to represent you, and this is how they are representing you as far as your money is concerned. This money made for development around your region, but that is not happening. Otherwise, it is taking or even happening in other regions. And the wage bill should be at around 35% as per the law, but as we can see here, it is beyond the 35% and going all the way to 44%. Those are your governors. Should I mention them again to you? We've got Gladys Wanga, we've got Anne, we've got these are the governor from Baringo County. We've got other Johnson Sakaja, Nairobi County, and we're also looking at Wavinya Ndeti, Eliondwele. Now page 4, and that's where we're getting these stories from. We're looking at benchmarking cash, where counties spent 13 billion on travel as major projects stall bills mount. And then the Controller of Budget says billions unnecessarily spent on domestic foreign trips. Nairobi tops the list of spenders as watchdog warns of weak accountability. Now we're looking at, just briefly, we're looking at the counties affected and their expenditure data, but you shall be looking at that for yourself. But I just mentioned we're looking at Baringo County, we're looking at Bomet, we're looking at Bungoma, we're looking at Busia, Elgeyo Marakwet, Embu, Garissa, Homa Bay, Isiolo, Kajiado, Kakamega, Kericho, Kiambu, Kilifi, Kirinyaga, Kisii, Kisumu. We're looking also at Kitui, Kwale, Laikipia, Lamu, Machakos, Makueni, not left behind, Mandera, Marsabit, Meru, Migori, Mombasa, Murang'a. We're also looking at Nairobi, Nakuru, Nandi, Narok, Nyamira, Nyandarua, and Nyeri, Samburu, Siaya, Taita Taveta, Tana River, Tharaka Nithi, Trans Nzoia, Turkana, Uasin Gishu, Vihiga, and Wajir. Now, we're looking at stalled projects, delay service delivery, undermine achievement of intended development objectives, and expose funds already paid to value for money risk. Now, that's a story from page 4. You can check it for yourself. Then page 2, we're looking at Uganda's military silences nation media outlets in press crackdown, where the closure of NTV Uganda and Daily Monitor has aided fears over declining press freedom in East Africa, where the move sparked a regional condemnation over escalating state intimidation and censorship. Now, Mzee has approved my plan to close both NTV and Monitor. We are moving immediately. I have the power in Uganda to shut down any media house I want. And this is from Uganda's military chief. You can read his name there. The second name, the first name is Muhoozi. You can read the second name for yourself and read that story on page 2. Page 3 of the Standard newspaper, Kenya's prolific blood donor, hit 111 donations, where the Nakuru-based court prosecutor declared the country's most prolific blood donor. He coordinates blood donation drives, helping maintain steady supply in blood banks. Read that for yourself. Page 4, we had covered page 5. We're looking at the SHA system. Glitches disrupt hospitals, where all the facilities report persistent OTP failures in the SHA system, forcing manual processing and slowing care. Now, while hospitals cite a week-long disruption, the LCS denies system-wide downtime. Now, page 6, digging one all to fill another. Kenya's Eurobond buyback game, where experts say buybacks only avoid immediate risk but carry more expensive consequences, where the COB also said the government needs to live within its means by reducing fiscal deficits. And we're looking something in numbers and at a glance, where we're looking at 219 billion is Eurobonds retired by the Treasury since March 2025. We're also looking at 195.5 billion is the new Eurobond issued to finance the buybacks. We're looking at 12.8 billion or trillion Kenya's total public debt as of March 2026, up to 9% from 111.8 trillion in June 2025. Now we're looking at 57.8 billion increase in Kenya's international sovereign bond stock from 1.022 trillion to 1.379 trillion during 2025-2026 financial year. Then we're looking at 81.2% and share of Kenya's new foreign borrowing, which is equivalent to 85.63 billion of 597.91 billion that came from Eurobonds and other international sovereign bonds. Now we're looking at 52% share of Kenya's public debt dominated in US dollars, exposing the country to exchange rate risk. That's from page 6. Page 7, we're looking at Kerit's US illness claim fails to sway court, where suspended Nairobi Finance CEC Charles Kerit's bid to out his civil jail sentence as a setback, where the court filings alleges his medical records do not support claims of serious illness requiring treatment in the US. And we are looking at 106.7 million shillings owed to Kwegu and company advocates led to Karich being sentenced to 3 months in civil jail for contempt of court after he failed to comply with a court order. That's a story from page 7. Page 8, we're looking at accept it when learners challenge you in class, and this is a call from KICD advising teachers, where KICD says curriculum aims at nurturing independent thinkers, which teachers should encourage, where agency maintains CBA is designed to move away from rote learners to develop their own strength. And so we're looking at a number of cases where grade 10 students have been correcting the teachers who are struggling in areas where the learners already have knowledge in. That's interesting. Then education, where Ogamba to principals and that let students participate in co-curriculum activities. Story from page 9. The two stories there. We don't have powers to write off banned student debt, and this is from L Chief, and he's saying that audit shows that 789 loan accounts have matured with a balance of 115.4 billion. Now, Monari said the biggest challenge is recovering loans from people in the informal sector. Then we're also looking at a story in Garissa, where workers up in arms over salary delays, and this is SHA deductions. And we are looking also at justice from the same page, where state civil society groups hold talks on GBV and crisis and affirmative action. A story on the same page. We're looking at insecurity, where Turkana leaders filed security agencies handling of disarmament operations. Story from page 10. We're looking at Mombasa authorities crack down on rogue rice developers, where authorities have intensified inspections in Mombasa as developers increasingly ignore approved building plans, where officials warn that illegal extra laws are endangering lives and undermining building safety regulations. Then, despite previous notices and enforcement warnings issued to developers and property owners, a number of non-compliant developments continue unabated. Then we are also moving all the way to Busia from the same page, where Busia rolls out life-saving equipment to cut mother and baby deaths. Then in Bigori, PS Omolo urges Kenyans to get IDs registered as voters. Then we're looking at another story nationally, and this is from page 11, where pastoralists earn 655 million in carbon credits. Community conservancies in Isiolo, Samburu, Marsabit, and Laikipia have received 659 million in carbon credit earnings, where the payout marks the resumption of payments after governance reforms restored market confidence. Then we're looking at 3 billion in carbon credit payments has been disbursed to conservancies in Isiolo, Samburu, Marsabit, and Laikipia since 2022, although the projects has been generating carbon credits since 2013. That's a story from page 11. You can check it for yourself. And we're looking at the opinion on the Standard this morning, and I have the power in Uganda to shut down any media house I want to. I have this power since 2017. This power was given to me by my great father, President Kaguta Museveni. NTV and Daily Monitor are learning about it today, and that's tied with the caricature this morning, but I'll be coming there before. But first I have to check the editorial, where we're looking at the police officers were the real threat on June 25th. And it's also this a story I promised to be discussing as far as our discussion is concerned about governance on the spotlight. Now, the caricature this morning, there are some questions, and we're looking at someone and is pictured actually, and on the opinion on the Standard this morning can directly show you what is the meaning of the caricature this morning. You can see someone is being suppressed, someone is being suffocated, and this is indicated the media. So we're talking about the press freedom, we are talking about the independence of media, and we're looking at Kenya, Uganda, and we can see the government is trying to suppress NTV and the Monitor Daily in Uganda. And you can see from the opinion what the defense, our Chief of Defense Forces, General Muhoozi, has said. He was given the power by his father, by his great father, President Kaguta Museveni. And I hope that's how law takes place in their region. And I hope that's not how things should be done. And we're looking at 2027 elections away from the caricature where Matiang'i factor has redrawn the Abaguzi political matrix. A story you can read for yourself from page 12. Then page 13 is a mix of stories. You can read it for yourself. Then I will take a village to end raising cases of student unrest. And this is maybe an initiative someone is taking. You can read it for yourself from page 14. A mix of stories again from page 15. And the end of it is from page 16, where the arithmetic of old age, why children are not a retirement plan. It's interesting. You can read it for yourself. Quickly shifting to the Daily Nation this morning, we're looking at the fence sitters' pressure on these leaders to pick sides, and there are some leaders you can recheck for yourself. We have got 6 leaders, and you read from page 7 to know what it all means. And we are looking at agony, where 6 activists retained following last week's protest, tortured in captivity and abandoned in Nairobi. And we're asking ourselves, is it the return of abductions now and forced disappearances, where families of 4 men who went missing after being seized by people believed to be state agents in the days leading up to last Thursday's demonstrations marking the 2nd anniversary of the bloody 2024 anti-tax protests have demanded that the government reveal their whereabouts. This is a story from page 4. And then pictured, we've got Davis Lichuma, we've got Macmillan Kiarie, we've got Abdulaziz Duba and Michael Olo. Now, we're also looking at outrage after Army Chief shuts down NMG outlet in Uganda. And this is a story we had covered. And now, very briefly to page 2 of the Daily Nation, where we're looking at a crackdown. Regional bodies condemn shutdown, citing press freedom violations and legal concerns, where Uganda military shuts NMG outlets. A story we have covered on the Standard newspaper, so you can follow it up on the Daily Nation page 2. And page 3, we're looking at a contest where chef beat Uganda's previous order after cooking 3 regulation chapatis in 2 minutes and 26.92 seconds. Okay, right, a story, interesting. Read it for yourself from page 3. Then we're looking at a concern where 5 activists reservists injured after alleging torture and abandonment following arrest during June 25th protest. And you can see Maraga is pictured there, so you can read that story for yourself. Then page 5, we're looking at education where professional development program will be free for teachers, or will be mostly conducted online, where teachers to renew licenses every 5 years in new rules. So you can pick that story if you're a teacher. Then we're looking at page 6, where defiance and recent satellite imagery shows that construction of the airstrip within the forest is ongoing, and this is something that was condemned so highly and still continuing. So we need to ask ourselves a lot of questions here. And we can see President William Ruto interacting with Ronnie Gitonga, the president of Burieri Boys Senior School in Maua, Igembe Central, Meru County, yesterday during the institution's 60th anniversary celebrations. And that's from page 6-7. We're looking at controversy where Nyoro and several ODM leaders declaring their allegiance as alliances rapidly crystallize. Now we're looking at fence sitters face mounting 2027 pressure, where we're looking at Ndindi Nyoro. We're also looking at Professor Nyang' Nyong'o, Millie Odhiambo, Winnie Odinga, Ruth Odinga, and Dr. Atiende Amolo. At a glance, why politicians are avoiding declaring their 2027 political allegiance. Now, as the 2027 general election approaches, politicians who have not declared support for either President William Ruto of the opposition are facing growing scrutiny, where critics cite their absence from key political events and votes, including the 2026 finance bill, as the evidence of fence sitting. Those keeping their oppositions or options open argue that their parties have not formally adopted election positions, and that major decision should follow international consultation. The debate underscores the rapid realignment of Kenya's political landscape. That's the story from page 7, then we're looking at a recommendation report proposes that AGO offers guidance on law interpretation while awaiting a court decision, and it's all business on page 9. Page 10, we are looking at new regulations where authority now shares says after consultation with Parliament, the transition will be done in phases. That's the story you can check for yourself. Page 11, we're looking at President's communication team can do better than this. There's a story from page 11. 12, we're looking at the caricature and new vehicle inspection rules and fines, and this is all from NTSA. That's all about the caricature and why streets still frighten power. Then we're also looking at some letters or many stories or even today in history where June 29th, 1983, President Daniel Moi suspended Minister for Constitutional Affairs Charles Njonjo, and you can see him pictured there. Then I think I'm ending there from the Daily Nation, and for page 14 and 15, the story you can check for yourself. 14 is all about the county news, so you can check that for yourself. Now, what's coming up next is the discussion about the governance and the spotlight, where we're asking ourselves, is political leadership still focused on the people's priorities? Stick around, we're getting back in a moment.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.